What's up, crypto freaks? It's Crypto Luna TC here, doing a quick late night video on the insane BCH price movement. Things are going crazy in this ticker here right now, and watching it live. I wanted to go ahead and catch it and show you some of my thoughts. Right now, I'm here on the hourly chart, taking a look at it and some Fibonacci levels. Zoom out here a little bit, see if it's readable. The Fibonacci we're looking at is a 2.6 extension. I'm on Twitter right now talking with some people and kind of called that right here. And right after I called that, it was actually sitting right below it. It just spiked up and has done this reversal. So this could be the top right here for now. I think what's going on in BCH is pretty significant. A lot of people are calling it a pump and dump. I don't quite see that. It seems like there's a pretty eventful news story behind it. The whole 2x cancellation and it being somewhat, having advantages over Bitcoin. So let's look at Bitcoin and what it's doing. And I want to come back out. This is an hourly chart, so we're going to go back today right now. Usually looking at the week. This is still cash. To get Bitcoin and see what Bitcoin is doing. Bitcoin is just taking it on the chin. And I'm going to go to the weekly chart here to kind of correlate with my last video on Bitcoin. What I talked about there was how this, my last video was on the 4th, way before the 2x cancellation, and not tooting any horns here, but it kind of predicted this pullback. My claim was that it's a little too high from this moving average to be buying up here. Be patient. You had this Fibonacci level also kind of being a bit of a guidance, and you can see those candles, they just got over it. So was a good signal to pull back, and it's fulfilled that. And so I would imagine the next few weeks actually do pull down. What's going to be interesting is if this moving average meets up with it around 5,000, maybe a little lower, 48-ish. And if it holds, if it finds its support and moves back up, or if this Bitcoin Cash story's got some legs to it and creates the environment to pull Bitcoin into a bearish trend, that would be a close below this line, which we haven't seen in forever, relatively speaking. Way back here when things just were starting. 2015 and things like that. Again, the news stories were not quite as impressive than $200. It was in a hibernation state, so to speak. So ever since it really got its boogie going, it's never closed below this line. So that's gonna be interesting if we get that event. And we can see here now back in Bitcoin Cash, there wasn't really any way to analyze that with my weekly analysis. It just hasn't got enough data yet. So look at it on a daily chart, and you can see that same moving average. It's not as reliable, a little bit, less significant, so to speak, but it's playing well on it. It did, and what was more telling in Bitcoin Cash was this downtrend here, and you can take a look at that with this kind of thing here. What my technical analysis teaching is kind of told me is, the more points of contact on this line, the more significant. So we have 1, 2, 3 points of contact. That's pretty good. And then when it breaks up here, this is a pretty good buy signal. So kind of missed the boat there. And what we see is it came up, it pulled back, touching that MA. This is your first wave, so to speak. And not to get too deep into like Elliott wave or anything, but it's kind of a first pullback and move up. So this is kind of your second wave, and it's showing those signals. Very strong, almost a measured move, where you have this length here, kind of, superimposed onto that. There's a little bit more mathematics in it to tell you where it's going to top out at. I'm not getting into that, but we can see one movement here, pull back, and another movement up. So this could keep going, but right here, kind of the main point was this Fibonacci here, which is just being pulled as a extension off of this low, high, low, extending up. And it's meeting its maker here right now. It seems like its price action just went crazy. I wish I would have caught that. It was just jumping all over the place right when it crossed here. So we'll see how this unfolds. Maybe get a pullback down here, back to the 168 and 1500 zone. Maybe a good place to buy. You know, I can't say what the story is on BCH, if it's the new Bitcoin or not, but there's some pretty good case out there from my reading that lower transaction fees, faster speed. That's positive. The Lightning Network with Bitcoin Core may be a good pairing that kind of helps compete with this and keep it at bay, so to speak. But again, the pump and dump claims is just a little bit tough. We're now talking about Bitcoin's market cap has gone from 120 last week. Let's pull that chart back up. Bitcoin's market cap back here at around 120 billion. Oops, 120 billion back here. It's now sitting at about 90. Back here, and September-ish, we're talking 60-ish, I believe, somewhere around in here. So, for the, not quite a flippening, but more of an equilibrium happening, it's not unreasonable. This could play out the next week if the momentum sticks in BCH. If we get a pullback and another move up, which is totally reasonable. We could see cash coming up, 3,000-4,000, and we can see Bitcoin, coming down to that 3,000 or 4,000. Let's go back to the weekly here and just look at some of the levels. So, this is a pretty deep red candle here. Next week to play out, and the week after, if we kind of take and, consider these last dips in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks, 3 weeks. Just say we get 3 weeks of downward trending here. This could really get down into that 4,000, 4,500, and Bitcoin Cash can come up to that 4,000. I think that's not crazy. And then so we have two coins that are kind of sitting neck and neck at that point. Up here you have a bunch of Coinbase wallets being created, as was like a big buzz story. Well, that's just all adding momentum to this downside. We have a bunch of buyers up here. It sounds like newbie buyers, people that they're just getting in on the FOMO, and that will quickly turn into a pullback, and a pretty rough one. So I think calling Bitcoin Cash a pump's not fair. I think there's an interesting news story going on, and I think that there's a lot of weak hands in Bitcoin itself. So it's the shakeout, and those two things are transferring, to each other in a sense. And there's probably some people in the know. Another reason I have a hard time calling Bitcoin Cash a pump is because this isn't just, you can look at it on the daily and say, oh, this just happened the last 3 days, but that's not the truth. The truth is, on the weekly chart, again, we don't have that moving average here, but I'd suspect that weekly moving average would be somewhere around in here. And what I'm seeing is the last 4 weeks, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's been a change in trend. Somebody knew. Someone got the heads up that Segwit 2 was probably going to have a hard time getting through. And you got the smart money back here. People getting in and building positions. So I don't know about pump and dump. I think this is more of a news story and speculation. Don't know if this is going to work out, and the story's going to work out for Bitcoin Cash. It could always fail. It could be another news event that says, oh, Bitcoin itself is better, or Ethereum's better, whatever. Something else is superior, faster, Litecoin. So it's not the all be all, but I don't think this is a pump and dump. I think this has got some legs on it. It's got less competition now that 2x isn't happening. A lot of people, calling Bitcoin Cash kind of amateur, but hey, we'll see. I don't know much about it quite yet. Just looking at the chart, just trying to stay on the technicals, and it looks pretty strong as far as here. I don't have enough data to really be certain of that, but what I do have enough data on is Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, it's showing weakness. So for now you have this Bitcoin Cash counterpart out there, which is kind of acting inversely. If this is going to be pulling down, that just kind of builds a case for an upward movement in Bitcoin Cash. Maybe it's topped out. I don't quite think so. This just really had you know, I want to do this video live right now because this is just a nasty pullback right here. So this is getting out of hand. I'm not saying it's all, um, you know, justified, right? But a pump and dump, not quite. So in other words, don't be afraid of buying in on this, in my opinion. I'm not trying to give you investment advice. I'm not qualified to do that, but it's worth a watch. Get some money to invest. Wait for the pullback. Don't buy up here like this last guy just did. He's crying already. But just keep an eye on it. This is a weekly chart. Probably want to go to the daily chart on this one just because of the little bit of data. And so we can see here, this line, when we get close to that moving average, say around here, 1,000, probably, 1,200. Even play on the Fibonacci since we have such little data and the moving averages aren't really helping us a ton right now. This Fibonacci line right here, 1,088, that'd be a pretty significant, opportunity if you get it. We're right now at 1,800, but we did just fall from 2,000. So this thing just lost $1,000 since this video. So that's why I brought this here. That's why I want to jump on real quick. Not a ton of information to work on with this this currency, unfortunately, at the point. Pump and dump, maybe not. I don't know. You got a lot of volume here. For me, again, pump and dumps, they don't really have any kind of news story behind them, right? It just comes out of nowhere. Hey, this thing's pumping. Where's this thing going? Jump on the train. There's a news story here, 2X is canceling or canceled. Now, who knows? Tomorrow we can get some news to that. Oh, they pushed it through. But for now, what we know as a community is 2X isn't happening. Bitcoin is pretty set in its ways, and this is the alternative. It overtook Ethereum's market cap tonight, a little bit ago. Maybe it's losing that ground right now, and probably by morning it may not be there anymore. But still, it did it. There's money flowing into this, and dominance in Bitcoin has dropped, and just the overall market cap on Bitcoin has dropped. It's down to 90, probably. Somewhere around in here it was hitting 90. So. Bitcoin is kind of popping back up, but right now, on a daily chart, which again isn't as reliable, it's below this moving average. Weekly chart, we're still pretty healthy. Not trying to call it bearish yet, but dip's coming. I think this is going to wind out, but we'll see. Keep an eye on it. Try to do a little bit more frequent videos on this stuff to keep our toes on it. Another thing here to see is this volume. And the RSI really peaked up. So this kind of all, with some writing on the wall here, this volume spike into this dip, that's correlating with Bitcoin Cash's volume spikes. So a lot of funds moving around to and from, and we'll see how this plays out the next few days.